Hey, well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining. I am your host, presenter, Unipiper. How about that? I'm your Unipiper. And welcome to my Artslandia happy hour. Tonight presented by Missionary Chocolates, which are, I'm told, now available at the Artslandia marketplace at artslandia.com/marketplace. Big thanks to Artslandia for giving us all a place to call home now every weekday at 5. If you would like to support their efforts, please consider becoming a sustaining subscriber to these happy hours. There is a link in the pinned comments below. And yeah, so I guess in addition to the Unipiper, I am also the founder and president of Weird Portland United. That's Portland's only nonprofit dedicated to keeping it weird here. I am also the co-host of the podcast I'm sure you've never heard of called Portland at the Movies, where we watch and review the absolute worst movies to have ever been filmed here in Portland. If you want to check that out, it's at portlandatthemovies.com. So tonight we're going to talk about what it's like to be the Unipiper, what it's like to keep Portland weird. And might pull out the bagpipes a little bit. So if you know any bagpipe tunes and have any requests, drop a line in the comments and I'll play what I know. You can also ask me questions in the comments. I'm happy to answer whatever burning Unipiper related questions you might have. Unfortunately, given the logistics of live streaming here, I will not be doing any live work on the unicycle tonight. But I do have a couple of videos that I want to share with you as we go along to show you some of the things I've been doing recently. And I think I actually want to start with one of those videos, and we'll kind of do a technology test here. But just to give you a little bit of context, this is I got a phone call from the mayor of Scappoose, our neighbors to the north. And he asked me to come out and perform for the Scappoose High class of 2020 graduates. This is how that went. So here we go. Let's try sharing this video and see if it works. Bear with me for just one moment. And here we go. Okay, so that was, of course, Pomp and Circumstance, also known as the graduation song performed on the bagpipes. What a lot of people don't realize, however, is that the bagpipes can only play 9 notes, so many songs do not work or sound right on the bagpipes, and you either have to substitute a different note or jump octaves or some combination of the two. And that's kind of what was going on there with Pomp and Circumstance. That's about as close as you can get it to sounding normal on the bagpipes. But it was fun nonetheless, and I've been doing a lot of that recently, performing for people's birthdays and doing graduation performances to help folks get through these quarantine times. While we wait for just maybe a couple more people to hop on, I have my bagpipes here. So maybe I will start with a couple of bagpipe tunes, and then we will get talking, and I'll take a look at the questions, and we'll go from there. Thank you, thank you. So that was, I don't even know the name of the first tune. You know, you learn so many of these pipe tunes and the names just start blending together. But then, of course, that was the 80s classic 99 Luftballons on the bagpipes, which maybe you have not heard in that way before. So yeah, I'm getting some questions. People want to know like how the Unipiper started, and I promise we will get there very soon. But before we go any further, I do want to take just a moment to acknowledge and commend the efforts of everyone advocating for racial equity during this historic moment right now. Myself as a white male with all the privilege that entails, I do feel a responsibility to help raise the voices of those who have been and continue to be held down by the systemic white supremacy in our country. And so I have been taking the time to listen and learn about how I can be an effective ally to Black people everywhere and to the Black Lives Matter movement. I know that my own privilege has certainly contributed to my success over the years, and that's something that I've come to probably take for granted. I know many Black people don't feel safe leaving their homes and let alone doing something like performance art in the streets. And I just feel that that's something that we must work to change. I've dedicated myself to keeping Portland weird, and Weird Portland United is committed to making Portland a weirder and more equitable and inclusive place for Black artists and weirdos. So it's very much an honor and a privilege to be hosting this happy hour with Artslandia this evening. As I become more aware of my opportunities, I'm also becoming more aware of how I might be taking opportunities away from Black artists. So in this vein, I'm excited to be working with groups like Artslandia and Weird Portland United to make sure that voices of color are also being represented. And moving forward, we will all need to dig deep to bolster those around us who may have been held down. So I believe there is a virtual tip jar going on, maybe pinned in the comments, and I'm collecting money tonight for Don't Shoot Portland. That's an organization that I've already started to reach out and build a relationship with. So if you're able, I encourage you to contribute to Don't Shoot Portland or any of a number of other organizations that are fighting for equitable reform and social justice in Portland and across the nation. So with that said, I hope everyone is doing well in their own right tonight. So if you don't know who the Unipiper is, maybe you have an idea now, I have a surprise at the end of this happy hour, so stick around all the way until the end, and I will share another video with you. I recently, on one of my birthday performances, I strapped a camera on my chest as I was riding around the neighborhood, and I got this really cool first-person footage of what it's like to actually be the Unipiper and see people's reactions. And it's also a little bit, perhaps, motion sickness inducing, just the turning, and it's actually a pretty cool video, but we'll save that until the end. I don't want anyone getting sick before the show is over. So I thought I would start. People obviously are here to learn how maybe I got started in being the Unipiper. And let's get some of the most common questions out of the way first. Yes, I have a face. This is not a secret identity. I just like Star Wars, so that's why I wear Darth Vader masks sometimes. And no, being the Unipiper is not my full-time job, as awesome as that would be. I've been Unipiping in Portland since 2007, and it was never my life plan for this to be such a big part of my life as it is now. But it certainly has afforded me some pretty incredible experiences over the years. So how did this actually start, and which came first, the bagpipes, the unicycles? Where did that idea come from? So I was learning to play the bagpipes in college. I saw an advertisement for free bagpipe lessons and thought that sounded like a fun skill to have. So I'd always been intrigued by the bagpipes and sounded like I guess I had enough time on my hand to consider an idea like that. So I was learning the pipes from a local sheriff's pipe band. And it was around that time when I found my very first unicycle in a dumpster. I didn't set out to go learn the unicycle, but again, this opportunity fell in my lap, and I picked up this unicycle and taught myself to ride in about 3 weeks' time. I was riding the unicycle, and so for a while there, I was not unipiping. I had these two completely separate hobbies, playing the bagpipes and then riding the unicycle. And then eventually, I guess it was just inevitable that those would go together. So I immediately started, and I regretted not doing it sooner because it somehow it just worked like peanut butter and jelly, these two things. So in 2007, this was actually just before I moved to Portland in 2007, and it was just before that I started doing this. So it wasn't until I sort of came to Portland that this all really congealed and came together and became a thing. I started performing at the Portland the PSU Farmers Market and the Portland Saturday Market, and the rest of everything has just been an evolution. I wish I could say that it was all planned from the beginning and I had this brilliant, fully formed idea, but the costumes came later. I being a lifelong Star Wars fan, once I realized that, like I said, there's only 9 notes on the bagpipes, but they are the right 9 notes to play Star Wars. So that was a cool surprise to me. And then I, thought to add the Darth Vader costume. And from there, the fire element came. I was performing one time, and a lady came up to me after I was done and was like, "Your act is very impressive and everything, but where's the fire?" And so that's what planted the seed where I was like, maybe there is something else to be done with this. So I reached out to a buddy of mine who does pyrotechnics professionally and came with this proposition of making the bagpipes shoot fire. And we somehow made that happen. So I came to Portland and, keep Portland weird. I saw the sign and I was just like, yeah, I can do this. And so I just kept at it and I haven't stopped. And I do feel that Portland itself has been a huge contributing factor to my success as the Unipiper. I think that our creative identity here lends itself to people exploring and trying new things, and for that being received well. And it's just been a fantastic journey since then. One of the things I absolutely love about what I get to do is the diversity of gigs that I end up getting. I do everything from birthdays and funerals and parades like your traditional pipers. And yes, I do funerals in full unicycle fire. They're typically the more celebratory funerals, and it surprisingly works well. But I've also gotten to do things like perform on stage with the Oregon Symphony on unicycle in the Schnitz. That was extremely scary because I had to make this pinpoint turn like 3 inches from the pit, but I did not fall. I've performed in the Moda Center on the ice for a Portland Winterhawks hockey game, and I've gone on to do America's Got Talent, where Howard Stern told me that I should have left my talent in the dumpster where I found my unicycle. So I kind of wear that as a badge of honor. And then one of my all-time favorite gigs that I've done as the Unipiper was actually getting to perform for a group of seeing eye dogs that were being trained here in Portland, and they wanted to expose them to anything that they may actually encounter in Portland. So it's like, well, if they can, I guess someone had the idea that if we can train these dogs not to react to the Unipiper, then they've probably got it made for life in Portland. So I got to ride around these dogs while they were being told to sit and stay. And they were all very good boys and girls. So let's see. I'm going to check in on the comments real quick and see if there's anything I can address so far. Yes, Howard Stern has no talent. I would agree with that. Oh, someone wants to know what my day job is other than unipiping. So, Nicole, yes. I work in the aerial survey remote sensing world. So I do laser mapping from helicopters and airplanes using technology called LiDAR, if anyone is familiar with that. It has nothing to do with bagpipes or unicycles, and being a Unipiper is definitely what keeps me sane. If folks are just joining, this might be a good time to remind you that you are watching Artslandia Happy Hour with your host, the Unipiper, tonight. And this is being presented by Missionary Chocolates. I am getting really excited because I've been sitting on this box of chocolates that they sent me earlier this week, and I was told to save it until tonight's happy hour. So I will be pulling that out soon, and I will be reviewing some Missionary Chocolates. They're a local woman-owned business here in Portland, and they make vegan and allergy-free chocolates, and some of the things in this box just look amazing. Let's talk, but before we get there, let's talk. Oh, I know what I want to do. This is happy hour, right? So what are folks drinking? I'm really curious if anyone came prepared with the Unipiper Hazy IPA. Does anyone happen to be drinking that tonight? I'm going to pour myself some from Portland Brewing. I'll talk a little bit later about why this beer is so special, but I'll tell you right now that if you haven't tried it, I think it's a fantastic beer, and there is a story behind this beer, and a portion of all the proceeds go to Weird Portland United and our efforts to keep Portland weird. So actually, by drinking, this is the only beer that by drinking, you will actually be helping to keep Portland weird. So here I go. I'm going to do a little weird right now by drinking some beer. And it's available at most major retailers in Portland, Fred Meyer's, Plaid Pantry, and the likes. All right, so let's talk bagpipes. Most people at this point who have any interest in watching Star Wars have done that. Unicycles are pretty self-explanatory, but to most people, the bagpipes are a pure mystery. So here are my bagpipes. I'll tell you a little bit how they work and the different parts. The best description I've ever heard of playing the bagpipes is that it's like making love to an octopus. And you can sort of figure out how that might be appropriate. So up here, you've got these three what are called drones, and these rest on your shoulder while you are playing. And they are what give that overtone, that wah sound. And there are three of them. One is a bass drone, and then there are two tenor drones, and the bass drone is one octave lower than the two tenors. And the bagpipe is a reeded instrument, so all of the drones and then the melody from the chanter, they all work on reeds, wooden reeds. And in the drones, the reeds look something, something like this, and they sound like this. And there's another one, of course, in the bass drum, but it sounds lower. So those rest up here, and when you blow air into the bag down here, you fill up the bag, and as you squeeze the bag, the air comes out the drones, and those are the first sound that you hear. And then also, when you squeeze the bag a little bit harder, the second sound you hear comes out of this part of the bagpipe, which is called the chanter. And this is where you play the melody. It looks kind of like an oboe. In fact, it uses almost identical reed to an oboe. So for anyone that knows about music and instruments, it is a double reeded instrument on the chanter down here. And it is very loud. So by itself, it sounds like this. And I promise I won't do that again. I probably should have given a warning. Apologies for anyone who might have been wearing headphones there. But I'm not going to play these pipes anymore because they are so loud and they don't really work well inside. And I learned long ago that if I want to keep my wife happy, I should not practice these in my room. So that's why I have this other set of bagpipes that I pulled out earlier, which are called Fireside Pipes. Both of these are Scottish bagpipes. The big ones I just had, technically they're called the Great Highland Bagpipe. And then these are essentially, they function identical to the Great Highland Pipes, but they're designed to have a softer volume to play indoors or in a setting with other instruments. And I'll play a couple tunes here. And again, if anyone has any requests on the bagpipes, feel free to shout out. But I apologize for not remembering Danny Boy. I do see that got more requests than any other song. And it has been so long since I've played Danny Boy that I could not remember it as I was hoping. So technically Danny Boy is an Irish tune, and these are Scottish bagpipes. That's not to say it doesn't work, but it's just less common. Amazing Grace, maybe we'll get back to that next time I pull these out. And kudos for, let's see, who was it? Elizabeth recognized the final countdown on the bagpipes. Something about 80s tunes on the bagpipes I do like. All right, so those are bagpipes. I don't know if anyone has any other. Nicole is also requesting Skyboat Song. I do love Skyboat Song. Yes, my wife is a huge Outlander fan, and I'm caught up as well. Let's see. We just talked about the bagpipes. Yeah, I mentioned earlier, just to reiterate, the bagpipes only have 9 notes. So, I commonly get a request to perform the national anthem at a sporting event or something, and that's just not something that is possible. So when you hear bagpipes next time, appreciate the fact that, if they can't play your request, it might be that a limitation of the instrument and not the ability of the piper. So let's see. Next, I want to talk just a little bit about things that I've been up to since the pandemic started. I mentioned earlier that I've been doing a lot of birthday parties and performances for graduates. And I seem to have stumbled upon this niche right now where people are stuck at home and forced to find ways to creatively celebrate their birthday. Like, what do you do on day 60 of quarantine that you haven't already done on day 42? So I put the call out there and said, hey, I'd be happy to come by your house if you're having a birthday and perform in the street. That was something that spoke to me because I recently celebrated my own birthday from home, so I know what that's like. And at this rate, it looks like everyone's going to get a chance to know what that is like. So anyways, when I put this call out there a couple of months ago, within 24 hours, I had over 200 responses. So I had to find a way to manage all of that. But I've been doing at least one party of some sort, mostly birthdays, at least one a day, more on the weekends. And so I'm going to have such a skewed perspective of this whole experience when it's over. Looking back on quarantine, it's going to be like, oh, it was just one big party for me. I was celebrating with somebody else, a different person every night. But, this is we're keeping social distance. I'm in the street and most people are in their yards. But it's just been a really fun way for me to get out and share some music around Portland to areas of town that I probably would have never gotten a chance to go to otherwise. The other things that I've been up to lately have been some cool collaborations with different groups in the community. I'm going to play another video right now. This was the Multnomah County Elections Board reached out to see if I would be interested in helping them spread the word about voting in the recent primaries election. And so we made a short video, and I'm going to share that right now and let it speak for itself. So bear with me while I hit play on this next video. Stay home, stay safe, and vote by mail. So I hope everyone did vote. Oregon doesn't make it. It couldn't really be any easier. We're very lucky to live in a state where that is possible. I'm going to ask one question to our lovely host of Artlandia. Here's a technology question. If I play a video, will I be able to talk over the video while it is playing, or are we just trapped to the audio stream of the video while that's going on? And the reason I asked that is because I have a video that I did want to show, but it has no audio and it goes on for about 2 minutes. And I wouldn't want to leave people in the dark for 2 minutes. Yes, you can. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and start this next video, and then I will explain it. So let me just hit the share button again. Okay, so this is a sneak peek at a brand new collaboration that nobody has seen yet. Well, let me make that full screen. So I recently got contacted by the Portland Fire Department, and they asked me if I would be interested in doing a series of PSAs about fire safety, which I think is a natural fit. And considering how great they've been to work with over the years, it's the least I could do in return. Yes, my flaming bagpipes have been approved by the fire marshal in town. That is something that you need to think about if you're going to be wandering around shooting fire. So I got to actually put on like the fireman whole turnout with helmet. The whole outfit weighed like 15 pounds. And I thought that I had already maxed out the difficulty of riding a unicycle by just doing the flaming bagpipes in a Darth Vader mask. But you add 15 pounds dispersed all over your body while trying to do that. It just adds a whole new element. It was like performing, I felt like I was moving in molasses and just moving in slow motion. But you can see we got to do some really cool things. Like we shut down the Hawthorne Bridge to get these slow motion drone shots. It's just turned out really, really neat. So you'll be seeing these probably released later this month. I think we did one to talk about the upcoming burn ban season as things start to get crispy out there. And then we did one to talk about the 4th of July and fireworks safety. It can be done. You can ride a unicycle in really heavy boots and firefighters turnouts. So I will stop that now. That's enough firefighting video for today. So that's what I've been up to lately. I think this would be a perfect time to once again check in and see if we have any. Okay, I don't see any new questions really. So let's remind folks that in case you are just joining us, this is Artslandia Happy Hour Live. I'm your host tonight, the Unipiper, being presented by Missionary Chocolates. And speaking of Missionary Chocolates, I'm so excited because right now I'm going to open this box of chocolates that has been sitting on my desk now all week, staring at me, just begging me to eat them. But I've been good and I have not eaten them. So let's look at some of the sample products that Missionary Chocolates makes. These are chocolate-covered pretzels. And keep in mind, this is all vegan chocolate, and so it's also all gluten-free. What else do we have? You let me know if anybody knows if anybody would like for me to try one of these chocolate products in particular. Let me know, and I'll tell you what they're like. We have marshmallow barrels, so chocolate-covered marshmallows. Chocolate-covered potato chips. Gosh, that sounds dangerous. Marshmallow morsels. Okay, so bite-size chocolate-covered marshmallows. Got some straight-up chocolate bars here. Chocolate-covered sandwich cookies. That sounds amazing. Chocolate-covered cinnamon bears. Wow. I love cinnamon candy, so that's going to be high on my list to try. And then, oh boy, CBD truffles, vegan truffles, and what is in this box? This looks like a box of, like your Russell Stover's type box. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what this is. I'm going to try and turn this to the camera without spilling them all. But here's a whole box of different chocolates. So obviously I have to try one of these. Sorry, I'm going to make everyone watch me eat chocolate. But remember, if you would like to have some of this chocolate yourself, you can pick it up not only from Missionary Chocolate, which is currently open right now. And I found out that they're just down the street from me, actually. They are like 30th and Gleason. They're open for business. You can get their chocolate at the Shemansky Park Farmers Market every Wednesday from 10 to 2 p.m. So there's no excuse for not having this chocolate right now. And like I said, they are a woman-owned business, and they're dairy-free, gluten-free, allergen-free, and I can't hold anymore. So I'm going to pick one of these chocolates from this box at random. I'm going to pick the one with the, they've got different color sugar on top, so I'm going with the green, which is my favorite color. Wow, and that is just a deep, rich chocolate flavor. This is amazing. There is some sort of almost a citrus flavor going on in there. I can't pinpoint it exactly. Oh wow. You know, I think it could be a lime chocolate. I think the green sugar is a lime candy. Oh, it is so good. Just pure chocolate. So good. Okay. I gotta try one more thing. But first, I'm going to take a sip of the Unipiper Hazy IPA again. I was saying there's no excuse not to have this chocolate, because it's also available, of course, at the Artslandia marketplace at artslandia.com/marketplace, where you can get all of the supplies that you need for your happy hour experiences. And there's some wine on there, and some chocolate, obviously, and some other various snacks. Everything you need to fully enjoy one of these happy hour experiences. Okay, I'm gonna try one of the chocolate covered cinnamon bears as soon as I dig those up. Oh, here they are. All right. This is some of the best chocolate that I have had in Portland, like hands down. I was reading their website, and they won one of the, I think, like Northwest Chocolate Fest gold medal back in 2007 or something. Oh, and it shows. Here we go. Chocolate covered cinnamon bear. Those are a good flavor combination. The spice from the cinnamon bear, and then the sweet, creamy chocolate. Yeah. Okay, this is... I'm sorry, I'm indulging a little bit because, like I said, this box has just been sitting, staring at me all week, and now I'm just making everybody on the stream watch me eat chocolate. Happy hour! Wish I could share this chocolate and beer with everyone. But I think that is a good segue to talk about, let's talk about this beer a little bit more and the story behind it. So I've been in Portland since 2007, and you know, I moved here at that time. That was the time in Portland when we had the 24-hour Church of Elvis was around. You saw people riding tall bikes at practically every street corner, and Portland has changed a lot since then. You know, we're still very weird in a lot of ways, but in other ways, you just, you know, you don't see tall bikes around anymore. And it's been even worse recently. We've lost some of our weird institutions. Unfortunately, the National Hat Museum, which we had in Portland, has recently closed down during COVID and related to the lockdown. And the same story with the Peculiarium, which is basically like the Museum of Weird in Portland. So I had always thought that, like, I'm part of this scene, this movement of people just doing their thing and it being celebrated in Portland. And I always felt like there should be someone helping preserve that. And I was just waiting for, like, the Keep Portland Weird Foundation to be a thing. because I had a lot of passion and energy that I would want to put behind something like that. And it never really materialized. And then a couple of years ago, it got to the point where I was like, this is the time. If we don't stand up and say, like, we're weird and we're proud, we may never get this chance again. So I had the idea of starting a nonprofit dedicated to just sort of making a scene and preserving what we have. And I had no experience in the world of nonprofits at all, so I just sort of had to learn that from the ground up. But I also, beer has been a huge interest of mine, something else near and dear to the hearts of many Portlander. And I did do homebrew and have for a number of years, and always had the desire to work with a brewery here in Portland to create maybe like a Unipiper beer. I thought that would be a fun project. So I had the idea to just combine all of this, much like the unicycles and the bagpipes, combining beer and nonprofits. So I teamed up with Portland Brewing, which is one of the oldest breweries here in Portland, and brought this idea to them. And they just jumped at the chance, partly because it's in their name, Portland Brewing. And they told me that they felt they had a responsibility to live up to that name. And I said, I want to start a nonprofit, and let's keep Portland weird for real. And so they're like, we're on board. Let's make a beer, and the proceeds of the beer can go to sponsoring that organization. And that's exactly what happened. So together we collaborated and we created the Unipiper Hazy IPA here. And it came out last year as sort of a test to see how it would do. And folks responded. And it actually is a very tasty beer, I think. And so we learned how it went last year. And we did a slight tweak to the recipe. And we just brought it back. It is as of like a month ago. It's back on store shelves, and it will be there now year round permanently. And so, like I said, you can pick up this beer, drink it, and you're supporting the cause. Helping the fight to keep Portland this lovely, wacky place that we all know and love. So, I just want to give a huge shout out and a cheers to Portland Brewing for believing in this crazy idea that I had, and following me along and believing in it. So cheers, Portland. And so let's talk a little bit about Weird Portland United and what it is that we're doing. And the thing about Weird in Portland, I always say that you ask 100 different people to define weird, and especially as it relates to Portland, you're going to get 100 different answers. And that I see that as both a challenge and a benefit to doing something to sort of formalize weird. So how do you go about, like protecting that? And where does the money come from to keep these efforts alive? Well, part of it is through this beer collaboration. Another part is through we set up this system. We're like, okay, how can people help us keep Portland weird? Let's offer the chance to sign people up as official Portland weirdos. And that's what we did. So over at our website, weirdportlandunited.org, you can sign up, and for $25, you can too become an official Portland weirdo. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to self-identify as weird. It just means you support weird in Portland. And so for a $25 membership fee, you get one of these fancy membership pins with the Weird Portland United logo, which is partly based on the iconic Portland Benson bubblers. And then also there's an octopus. We've turned it into a living, breathing octopus with eyeballs coming out of the water on top, and then tentacles coming out of the bottom. And that may be a nod to the old Greek cuisine octopus that used to hang in downtown Portland for a number of years. One of our weird icons that is no longer there. Anyway, so now we are growing an army of weirdos out there. And last year we established the Weird Portland Hall of Fame. is a way to recognize some of the individuals that have contributed to our famous culture of weird. And a couple of the people that we've recognized in that Hall of Fame include former mayor of Portland, Bud Clark, who so famously adorned that poster you might be familiar with, especially being an arts organization, of him in a trench coat flashing one of our nude statues downtown. And it just sort of became viral in the 80s, and with the caption, "Expose yourself to art." So we honored him. And we also honored Kirk Reeves, who you may recognize as the gentleman that used to wear white suits and sit at the end of the Hawthorne Bridge and play his trumpet with Mickey Mouse ears for a number of years until he sadly passed away a few years back. So those are just some of the things we're doing to try and recognize the weird. The Hall of Fame had a physical location. It was to live inside of the Peculiarium. But unfortunately now, with that having to shut down, we're going to have to look for a new location for the Hall of Fame to live. And this is probably a good time to show you one of the other things that we've done recently now. Our oldest member of Weird Portland United just turned 101 years old. Her name was Virginia, and she had her 101st birthday during the quarantine. And so taking what I learned celebrating people's birthdays on the street as the Unipiper, I applied that on a larger scale and got some of our weird friends together, and we coordinated a 101st birthday parade to go by her house. And we made a little video about that. So here, I'm going to share this 1-minute video, and you can see what that parade looked like as Weird Portland United came together to celebrate. Bear with me. Okay, so, that was a look at some of the faces that we have, some of our weird friends. You may have recognized a couple of faces in there. We had Mosho, the cat rapper, and if you were watching Artslandia Happy Hour on Tuesday, you might recognize artist Mike Bennett in there with his colorful plywood cutout art. He was there as well. The last thing I want to talk about related to Weird Portland United is what we're doing right now. So it's always been a goal of ours to have a grant program where we can fund people and organizations and ideas and projects that go to building a more creative and fun Portland. But then when the pandemic hit, we had to ask ourselves, like, okay, well, what does that look like now? And it really affected, I think, our creative community in a way that was particularly rough, because a lot of these creatives do their work full time, and they may not have the ability to share art or anything like that. So we wanted to help those people just make it through this time, so that we still have them around, and we don't lose sense of our creative identity when we get through this on the other side. So we came up with a grant program that we are calling Keep Weird Alive. So for the past 3 months now, we're in the third round right now. We've been giving out $1,000 a month in 2 separate $500 grants to artists and creatives and anyone who's doing anything right now that's weird or putting smiles on people's faces despite the challenges of the world we live in, and just trying to give them a boost to encourage everyone kind of not to lose our sense of humor right now. Anybody can nominate someone else for one of these grants. Like right now, you can go, if you know someone who you think is doing something cool right now, and you want to reward them with maybe $500 grant, you can do that. We're asking that folks submit a 30 to 60 second video nominating someone else. So you can't nominate yourself. We want to hear the stories of people who are recognizing the work that's being done out there. So you just upload a 30 to 60 second video to social media using the hashtag #KeepWeirdAlive, and that'll get them in the running for one of these grants. And I should say right now that our third round, our sponsors, Portland Brewing, of course, and Myoptic Optometry, is sponsoring another one of those grants. So maybe you've got connections to a business who is also interested in helping us keep these grants alive and doing something positive for our creative community. Have them reach out and say, let them tell us that they are interested in sponsoring a grant. We'd be happy to work with that as well. But I'll just tell you a little bit about a couple of the folks that we've already recognized with these grants. One of them you saw in that video. He was the guy with the bowling pins and the ball balancing on the sword, and he was wearing caution tape vest. His name is Spencer Sprocket, and he's a street performer, juggler extraordinaire. And since quarantine started, he's been going out and hitting the streets and sharing his art to different neighborhoods around Portland. He's also gone to some nursing homes and performed in the common area where folks can watch from a distance, and been bringing smiles to a lot of Portlanders' faces. And then we also, in the last round, recognized somebody whose name is Strawberry Pickle. And she recently opened, it was terrible, unfortunate timing, but just before the shutdown, she opened a brand new performance studio art space venue right behind Hippo Hardware on Burnside called Rainbow City. And it is just decked from floor to ceiling with bright neon lights and painted in all sorts of rainbow colors. There's life-size dinosaurs that are painted like unicorns with rainbows. It is an amazing place, but then immediately had to unfortunately shut down. And she has turned that space now into a space where artists and musicians can come and live stream performances for free. So we recognize her as well, and we really want to see Rainbow City survive and thrive one day back when everything is open again. So that's a little bit about Weird Portland United. If you're interested in getting involved or learning more, check out our website at weirdportlandunited.org. And there you can sign up to our free Weird Portland email newsletter, and then sign up and become an official Portland weirdo if you want as well. So we're coming up towards the end of the happy hour. Believe it or not, that's been almost a full hour. So I want to do one more check-in on the comments, but to remind folks, we do have coming up, I should have been reminding you, but I'm going to share this video very soon. It's the first-person perspective of what it's like to be the Unipiper and perform Happy Birthday for someone. So take your Dramamine now. It's a little bit jerky, but that's what it's really like on the unicycle. So let's do one last check for questions real quick. See. Yep, thank you. Shout out to the Peculiarium. Yeah, we love the Peculiarium. Hopefully they're not gone for good. I have faith that they'll be back. Okay, I don't see any new questions. So I'm going to go ahead and share this video. So this is what it is like to be the Unipiper. for 2 minutes.
Somebody's birthday on Father's Day? That's pretty cool.
All right. Before I leave, I want to end with one story that I just think is too funny not to share. It's one of my favorite Unipiper stories to tell. So when I commute to my day job, I ride a bicycle, with 2 tires. And one time I was cruising to work on my bicycle, and I did not have my hands on the handlebars at that time. And another bicyclist rode up right beside me and looked over at me and sort of, how bicyclists in Portland can sometimes be a little bit serious about cycling. He looked over at me, not holding onto my handlebars, and sort of a disgusted scowl on his face, and shook his head and says, "You're not the Unipiper, And yeah, that's what it's like sometimes. It's a tough world. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining today. Please, this has been Artslandia Happy Hour Live. Come back here tomorrow at this time, and they'll have opera singers Angela Niederloh and Matthew Hayward. So we'll go from bagpipes to opera. That's what's great about Artslandia. There's no bounds here. Cool. I hope to see y'all around, and it's been a lot of fun hanging out. So check you out later. Bye.